Fourth oral question, Baroness Lister of Burtonsett.
My Lords, I beg leave to ask the question standing in my name on the order paper.
No assessment's been made. We're not changing the reasons we may apply a sanction, including refusing to take a job which has been offered, nor the rates applied. As part of the Way to Work campaign, we're changing the period in which a claimant can limit their job search to their usual occupation to promote wider employment opportunities, supporting people into work more quickly. And we no longer, as the Noble Baroness knows, plan to publish a report.
Given the general view that tougher sanctions will have only a very limited impact on labour supply in today's labour market, and the inability of the government's own evaluation to assess their deterrent effect, and the independent evidence that they typically push people out of the formal labour market or into poor jobs at the cost of longer-term, good quality jobs, and are associated with serious hardship and ill health, what justification is there for introducing this significantly harsher policy now without even public consultation?
Well, I must make it absolutely clear, we're not having tougher sanctions. We're not, okay? We're reducing the period for which people can look for usual work, as I've said. Now, I went to Hastings Job Centre, okay? I went to Hastings Job Centre last week. I walked in the job centre, absolutely busy, helping people looking for work, got employers in there doing interviews. They weren't rubbing their hands saying, we can sanction more people. The whole of the Job Centre Plus network is enthralled by this new opportunity, and what we'll be doing is we'll be helping to get people a job quicker, but we won't stop helping them get a job in the field that they want to be in.
My Lords.
I appreciate what the Minister has said, that they're not altering the sanctions, merely the period of time. But I have to confess I was very surprised when I heard this, because a month does seem a very short period in which somebody can be expected to find work in their usual area. Couldn't it just be extended a bit longer?
Well, the decision's been made about the 4-week period. I can go back and say the Noble Lords would like it longer. That won't probably come as a surprise to the Secretary of State. But the other factor to say is that we are inundated with employers, inundated with them wanting to recruit people into their workforce. And through all my experience, it is much better to be in a job, to be able to get the next job, than it is sitting looking for jobs that don't actually exist at the moment.
There is no evidence, as my honourable friend Lady Lister has said, that sanctions are effective in encouraging people into sustained long-term work, as universal credit stats show that new claimants flow quickly off. And in view of this, would the noble lady, the Minister, ensure that government adopts the safety valve of preparing people for independent advice before bringing in those sanctions? And what action will the government take to publicise and inform claimants about the easement regime which can protect people from such sanctions, notwithstanding what the Minister has already said? A month is a sanction.
Sanctions only apply if claimants do not comply with their agreed requirements for no good reason. So that's not changing at all. If claimants refuse to apply for roles, attend interviews or take up paid work without good reason, they can be referred for a sanction. If a claimant disagrees with the sanction decision, they can ask for a decision to be reconsidered, and we have a well-established system of hardship payments available as a safeguard if a claimant demonstrates that they cannot meet their immediate and most essential needs due to a sanction.
My Lords, if a sanction is actually applied, what arrangements are there for someone who feels unfairly treated to ask for redress? And in particular, is it simple, or will they have to run through a whole series of bureaucratic hoops?
Building on the answer I just gave the Noble Baroness on the opposite benches, if a claimant disagrees with their sanction, they can ask for a decision to be reconsidered and subsequently can appeal against it. There are hardship payments, but I just emphasise the point. I rang a district manager this morning and said, tell me about this way to work. What do you think? She said, we love it. We're very excited about it. We've never had so many jobs. And the last thing in the world we want to do is sanction somebody in this environment. And I believe her.
My Lords, thank you. The Minister referred to the inundation of employers, and I can imagine that. But has any work been done to assess the willingness of employers in different sectors to take on people with no experience in that sector? Because it's very important that the workers on the front line do actually understand that.
Well, Noble Baroness makes a very good point. And the work coaches are well trained. Their relationship with employers is gathering momentum. And in fact, I heard today that employers are more prepared to take people with no experience in their industry, and in fact are also considering taking people that they wouldn't have normally done, such as ex-offenders and those with autism. So yes, I agree.
Let's take a step back. What the government is doing is saying to somebody who's lost their job, if you don't get back into your own field within 4 weeks, you should go and find any job and get in there fast. Now, the government put out this massive press release last week saying we're going to get 500,000 people into over 1 million vacancies, and the centrepiece was this idea. You could be sanctioned within 4 weeks, ironically, before you even get your first universal credit payment, which takes 6 weeks. Now, my lords, given that only 3% of universal credit claimants are even in this category, and given all the evidence is most of them get back into work really quickly anyway, rather than blaming people who've lost their jobs, why not focus on long-term unemployment, people leaving the labour market, retiring early? Let's focus on the real problems. Wouldn't that be a better idea?
Well, I'm afraid on this occasion I can't quite agree with everything the Noble Baroness says, or indeed the sentiment in which it's said. That will come as no surprise to people. But the fact of the matter is, we have been working with long-term unemployed people, trying to overcome their barriers, trying to put solutions in place. And I say again that when someone does not have a job and they can't get a job within the field that they are used to and are skilled in, their skills can be applied to other sectors. They can take jobs, be in work, and then when a job comes up in the field that they want, we can help them apply for it. So I do not hold with what the Noble Baroness says.
Putting pressure on people to take jobs and the threat of benefit sanctions has a known link with deteriorating mental health. Indeed, some medics have pointed to a link between benefit sanctions and suicides. In the past, the government has refused to assess that impact and to publish the results. Will the Minister now look at that evidence and make sure, for transparency's sake, that we all see it?
Okay. Let me go to the point about the publication of the evaluation, etc. We committed to use UC administrative data to look at the impact a sanction has on an individual. However, durations could not be compared as we did not have robust legacy data and could not develop counterfactual information without legislative changes to allow for testing of different approaches. Therefore, we weren't able to do it and come up with a meaningful comparison. I understand exactly the point the Noble Baroness makes about mental health. Our work coaches are trained in mental health and watch out for people. And as I say, the last thing they're going to do is threaten people. It's only when there is no good reason for turning down an opportunity that a sanction will be imposed. And sanctions are running at 0.78%, which is lower than pre-pandemic.
My Lords,
Some people, my lords, seem to find great difficulty in securing a job. So can my noble friend tell me what is actually done by the government to help these people to secure employment?
I'm pleased to say that the government has doubled the number of work coaches. They're spending more time with people, finding out in more depth the issues that are stopping them working. They're putting interventions in place to help them overcome their barriers. We've got our plans for jobs programme, and more employers are coming into job centres to interview people, understanding the barriers people face. And I think when all is said and done, we're doing a lot for people.